All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ronan JKD channel. It's been a long time since I've done anything on this channel. And I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to be starting to do more stuff on this channel again and more stuff in the future. And this is the very first episode of what I'm calling Martial Talks. Now, Martial Talks is going to be exclusive to YouTube and a little bit different than what I do on the Empty Cup podcast. The Empty Cup podcast will have raw footage here on YouTube like I've always done, but the edited footage, the edited audio will obviously be on all your streaming platforms, all your podcast platforms. That's what I meant to say. But I've done things in the past where I called it Martial Vlog or something like that, but I thought Martial Talks was good and actually start to number them. Or just I have ideas that kind of occur to me and things that I want to talk about as far as the martial arts are concerned and just ideas that I have. And these will be different than training videos as well. So those are basically the three categories that I'm going to be doing: Martial Talks, the Empty Cup podcast, and JKD tutorials. So those are the kind of three things I want to do. But today what I want to do, let's just jump right into what I want to talk about today, and that is being stingy with ranks. I thought about this from a couple of places. I thought, in other words, there's a couple things that occurred to me that kind of came up, and things that I watched recently, and things that happened in my own life that made me think about instructors being stingy with ranks, and this includes myself. And the first thing that happened to me is that I realized that I've never given away a black belt. And you're saying, well, of course you've never given away a black belt. You're in a system that doesn't use belts. Yes, I know. I understand. But I mean the equivalent of a black belt, what I would consider to be a black belt. And what I mean by that is somebody who I believe, and I might talk about this later, but somebody who I believe is in the position of being able to now train themselves. I really believe that that is what a black belt or the equivalent level of a black belt is. And I would say that's different than a full instructor, because an instructor is somebody who has the skill but is also able to pass that skill along. While there are certain people who might have that skill, but they're not really great teachers. So, and how I rank things, it's a little bit different. So I've never given out that level, and I've had two people come super close that I really super wanted to give that rank out to, but I didn't for various reasons. And so that kind of started tumbling in my head. I was like, am I being stingy with rank? And the other thing that happened was, as I watched a video of a guy who was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like 3rd or 4th degree black belt. And he was talking about how it's hard for him to give out ranks these days, because as he goes further along, he's realizing that black belts are, sorry, he's realizing that he was talking about, like a blue belt, he should fill a certain amount of weigh against, and then a purple belt, he should be able to fill a good pushback. And that's kind of how he knows that they're at that rank. But then he started saying that as he's progressing, now it's harder for him to tell purple belts between like a high-level blue belt and a purple belt. And they're starting to feel the same to him, because he's getting so much better as he's progressing. And so he noticed that he was being stingy with rank. And then the third thing that kind of popped into my brain was the first system I ever got my black belt in. I remember being a first red, which was the one that was right next to black belt. And I was listening to my instructor on the phone with another black belt from the White Dragon martial arts system, which was the first system I got my black belt in, which I've talked about before on the channel. And he was on the phone, and he was saying to somebody that he was talking about me, and he was saying that I am as good as the black belt that this system produced like 5 or 6 years ago. Now that was way back then, so 5 or 6 years from that time. So it made me think, am I being stingy with ranks? And what are the criteria? And, and also as a student, like, what should you do if you feel like you're instructor is being stingy with rank. So let's break that apart. Number one, I really don't want to be stingy with ranks. I got to tell you, as an instructor, it's the last thing in the world that I want, personally speaking, to hold any of my students back from any rank whatsoever. I find that deplorable. I know that there are some instructors out there who do that. They're like, oh, they protect belts or ranks like it was their life. And they're just real stingy with it. If you're in that kind of school, maybe you should think about going to a different school. I'm not sure, but there are different reasons why, somebody might be stingy with ranks or not give out ranks that are appropriate. One is that they're just stingy. Yes, I am back. Thank you. I am back. I'm trying to get back and do some stuff here. Thank you, Brooks. Yeah, I'm going to be doing some more stuff on this channel here again. And I don't know if you can look me up, but I actually have a Facebook page that is that's just called Ronan JKD. So it's just a Facebook page for this channel. If you want to friend me on it, you're more than welcome to go over there and friend me on Ronan JKD. So the other reason why it might feel like somebody is holding you back is the idea that that you might just be overlooked. Okay, so you got to give your instructor a break, because especially if you're dealing with somebody who has like lots and lots of students, and you're like, well, I tapped this guy out, or I beat this guy in sparring, and he's 2 stripes on his blue belt and I've got no stripes on my blue belt, and what's going on here. You might be overlooked. It might be a situation where the guy has 20, 25 students rolling, and it might just be a situation where you might be overlooked. I know very few instructors who are just stingy with belts. Not that they would ever admit it, but I know that there are a few out there that are just stingy with ranks and stingy with belts and stingy with promotions. But the majority of people aren't. So you might just be being overlooked. You might also consider the fact that you are not where you need to be. Okay, that's the simple fact of the matter too. You just might not be where you should be. The instructor might be looking at you and going, well, I would love to give that guy his rank, but he's just simply not. And the fact that you might be able to tap out a few people or spar with a few people and beat a few people is not it's not a measure of your overall experience in the martial arts. And an instructor has kind of got to gauge that as far as, is this person doing good on a consistent level, and a consistent level across all the boards. Now, if you feel that this is that you should deserve a rank and that you're not getting that rank, and you don't feel as though your instructor is just a stingy kind of person, and you don't feel the need to maybe move to a different school, you can just approach your instructor. Okay, that's an option that you might have. Let me just say too that when you approach your instructor, approach it with a humble attitude. Don't approach it like, hey man, what the heck do you think you're doing? I tap this other guy out all the time, or every time I'm in the cage with this guy, or every time we spar, I'm way better, or I know these forms, or whatever it is. Don't approach it arrogantly, because the walls are just going to shut down. They're just going to shut down. And this just goes to basic human nature. It goes to sales techniques. It goes to relationship techniques. Don't act like that at all. This is why I love martial arts so much, because it helps you in all realms of life. Just say, hey, look, I feel as though I'm being overlooked, or that, I feel like I'm here, and ask them this question. Is there something that you see holding me back from achieving that rank? And if then that opens up a question for them that they can look at and answer, rather than just an accusation. because an accusation, again, is just going to go ahead and put up walls. They're just going to be like, well, I don't want to, you know, deal with that. But if you say, is there something you feel like holding me back from that rank? Is there something, say, is there something I could be working on? You might you might have that open up to you more readily, more quickly. I actually had this happen to me one time when I was actually in Wing Chun, before I got my advanced in my empty hand in Wing Chun. I was actually in gray shirt, and I was in intermediate Wing Chun for a long time. And I finally just approached my Sifu at the time, Ron Heimberger, and I just said, hey, you know, is there, you know, what's going on? You know, how come I'm not being advanced? And what had happened is there was another guy who was who he did advance, who was a complete jackwagon, okay? A complete jackwagon. And he had only been in Wing Chun maybe 2 weeks longer than I had been in. But he was just I still to this day can't stand this guy. But, you know, I'm not the instructor. I didn't make those decisions. But I felt as though this person was getting advanced and it should have been me. But I did not approach him more meanly or whatever. I just kind of said, what's going on? And you know what happened? He wasn't mad at me. He kind of took me to the side and he just said, look, I've been watching you for a long time, but there's something that's not quite right with your Wing Chun. There's something that's not quite right. And what he ended up doing was he put me in the advanced class at a summer camp. And then I actually rose to the challenge of that. I rose to the challenge. So he put me in he said, you know what? He goes, I'm going to say you're technically not advanced, but you've been doing this for so long that sometimes if I throw students in with more advanced students, they rise to the challenge. And so when I went to the Wing Chun summer camp, he actually put me in the advanced class. So I was with all the other black shirts and doing all the other BUG moves and stuff like that. Learned a lot of stuff. And within just maybe a couple months, he fully awarded me my my advanced ranking in Wing Chun. So it was a situation where he just felt like something wasn't quite right with my footwork, wasn't quite right with how I was moving, and he just gave me and he did eventually give me my rank. So, are people stingy with ranks? Let's wrap this up. Are people stingy with ranks? Yeah, sometimes they are. It can be very frustrating. Hang in there. If you feel the need to switch schools, sometimes that might be a possibility. If you feel like you need to talk to your instructor, then by all means talk to your instructor and do it gently. And if you're an instructor out there and you're looking at your students, you know, try to be fair with them. Try not to higher the bar. Try not to say, well, you know, I'm a 3rd degree black belt now, and therefore I'm not, you know, lower belts kind of seem a little bit lower because I'm higher. Make sure you're using the same measure and standards that you would want to be used on yourself and that were used on yourself. Don't make a 1st degree black belt a 2nd degree black belt because you're now a 3rd degree black belt. Don't make a blue belt they have to be now purple belts because now you're a 3rd degree or 4th degree black belt. Don't do that. Just kind of monitor that. And I know as an instructor, even though you don't intend to do it, sometimes you can slip into it. It's just natural because you progress as well. And so you have to be kind of conscious of that. Anyway, thanks for listening to Martial Talks, and I hope to talk with you again soon and put out more content on this channel. Have a good day and keep your gloves up.